89.3 FM Lagos. My name is Chika Ago. And let's get started with our conversation tonight. While the Israeli Defense Forces continue their military offensive in Gaza, dropping bombs and firing rockets that are killing and displacing its residents in what they say is a move to eradicate Hamas. Another military offensive is taking place in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. According to Reuters, Israeli forces killed at least 8 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank 2 days ago. 7 of them in clashes during a raid in the town of Tulkarm near the boundary with Israel and Palestinian medics. Alongside this development in the West Bank, there has been a rise in violence by settlers. Many observers say it's aimed at pushing Palestinians from their homes and extending Israeli control in certain areas. The conflicts between Israeli settlers and Palestinians goes back decades, with both sides claiming ownership of the West Bank, but with Israel exerting its military might in much of the region. Is there an end in sight, and what would it take? What is the future of Israeli-Palestinian relationship in this area where geography has forced them into? And what would peace look like? While Hamas is the government in Gaza, the Palestinian Authority is the government in the West Bank. And so joining me on the big story this evening to discuss the future of Israel-Palestine relations is Ambassador Abdullah Abu Shaweh. She is the extraordinary and plenipotentiary embassy of the State of Palestine. He joins us live from Abuja. Good evening, Ambassador. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Loud and clear. Thank you so much, Shika, for hosting me tonight, this evening, and thank you so much also for your introduction, which I need once you give me the floor. Go back to you. I need to make a very important correction because, again, we used to say that the wording have a meaning. Back to you, of course.
That's right. Ambassador, please right off the bat, just make your correction. We can all learn from that.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much indeed. Shika, when you mentioned IDF, this is a complete ambiguous and not according to us, of course, and according to any rational one all around the world, that when you talk about IDF, Israeli Defense Force, what is the Defense Force doing in the occupied West Bank? This is very important. It is accurate name is Israeli Occupation Force, not Israeli Defense Force, because wording have a meaning by the end of the day. And again, I would like to explain myself very well. Defense, this means that you are defending your territory. But when you are occupying another territory, you cannot name this unmoral occupation army as a defense army. This is first. Again, settler violence, it's not issue between the Palestinian and the settlers, because this again will show show the audience and your followers that there is 2 people is fighting against this, or at least there is claiming their right, which is completely according again to the international law, to the international resolutions, and or even to the American themselves. Those settlers is locating in our and living in our land against and with unlaw base to be there. Also, they are living and moving. Their government is moved them before and still moving them till today, which is against again a move against the international law. So that settler, it's not violence. Settler is pure criminal. Settlers is the Israeli settlers is terrorist people, and I can share with you tons of videos that showing that how those is a very terrible, very horrific people who is terrorizing the Palestinian innocent villagers and the people. And needlessly, of course, to remind all of us that part of those settlers, fanatic messianic, maniac settlers, is belief of not only is burning part of our people alive. عائلة Dawabshi family was burned alive by the settlers. Muhammad Abu Khdir burned from inside. They enforced him to take in his mouth the fuel, and they burn him from inside. This is the exact name of the terrorist of the terrorist group, which is the Israeli settler
Right.
gang.
Well, I mean, I think we can understand things from your perspective, which is why we really wanted to have you here. So thanks for sharing your views on how you relate to who the IDF really are from the Palestinian perspective. So let's just get straight.
Again, but this is not the again. This is the logic. I'm talking
I
about the
hear
logic.
you. Yeah, Ambassador. What I mean,
you mean defense forest? No, so again, because I want. It seems that I did not explain myself well. Uh, Defense forests mean that they are in their territory and defending them.
I understand
They
you,
are
Ambassador.
occupying us, and this
I agree.
unmoral.
I agree with you. I agree with the fact that they are an occupying force, right? But
Yes.
when we speak about them in public, we don't know them, and especially in this part of the world, what we know is this is the name that they are known as internationally. So when you tell us that as a Palestinian, they are an occupying force, and we call them the Israeli occupying force, people then have a better framework to understand who they are in relation to the Palestinian. I'm speaking of them in relation to Nigeria and the rest of the world. So I think that we are both saying the same thing, Ambassador, and I absolutely understand you.
Could I back again just for less than a few minutes, a few seconds?
Yes.
Again, this is not the Palestinian perspective. This is the rational perspective, and
Okay.
I'm pretty sure all of you, and your followers and listeners right now believe that I'm giving the rationale behind that. But anyhow, even if you want to use the names and to be at least very neutral, the Israeli army, we can go with it. But the Israeli Defense Army, what they are doing in our in Ramallah, in Beit Lahem, in Tulkarem, and all of the Palestinian territory, I'm pretty sure they are not defending; they are occupying us. They are dehumanizing us.
Right.
Anyhow.
Okay, so again, thank you very much, Ambassador. So let's start by getting your thoughts on what has been happening in Gaza since the 7th of October when Hamas militants attacked the southern part of Israel. What are your thoughts on how the Israeli government, the Israeli army has responded?
Again, thank you so much.
Hello, Ambassador. I think that we've lost the audio connection to you. I'm not quite sure why that is. I'm not quite.
I'm with you.
Oh, okay. Please go on.
I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm with you. Anyhow, again, we are. Let me just back to the same exact point. Thank you so much again, Shika, for your very important, but the same exact repetitive question that we, the Palestinian politician and the Palestinian diplomat, used to face it, as everyone would like us as a Palestinian to start measuring the history itself as if it is the world itself. The globe itself was created only in October 7th. Just October 6th, one day before, Friday, October 6th, one day before the last escalation, the Israeli occupation army killed 7 Palestinians in West Bank since the beginning of this year alone. Till October 6th again, the Israeli occupation army, the unmoral army, killed 152 Palestinians. One of them, called Muhammad al-Tamimi, 2.5 years old. They snaked him. They snaked him for fun. This is the reality. So that the history was not started in October 7th. And I would like to remind all that this is the exact wording that the Secretary General United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on October 24th, before the Security Council mentioned, he stressed that October 7th does not came from a vacuum. This means that you cannot, as a rational and as a decent, I'm pretty sure all of you decent media correspondents, you cannot isolate October 7th from its root. You cannot isolate it from its historical context. This means that it's a matter of important, and to take you just in a very short tour, the history of the Palestinian struggle against this unjust and unfair situation long time ago before, or many years ago before October 7th. It was started since 1917 when the United Kingdom, the occupation, the mandatory power over the historical land of Palestine, issued the notorious Balfour Declaration. In this declaration, they gifted our historical homeland to the European Jewish. At that exact time, November 2nd, 1917, our struggle was started. Our problem issue, the problematic issue in the Middle East was started at that time. This is the exact history that we should start and tackling and analyzing October 7th, taking into account the context of this. Then this was not stopped there. In 1948, the Jewish gang at that time, Lehi and others, the criminal Jewish gang, and after many or tens of massacres conducted against the Palestinian people, Deir Yassin, King David Hotel, and others, at Tantura and others, of course, massacres, approximately 52 massacres, that is still in the archive. We know it, or we know it. We know about it. So that after that, they ethnically cleansed us. They unfortunately succeeded to ethnically cleanse us as a Palestinian from our historical homeland. This is what happened. And the majority of the Palestinians became a refugee. I personally born in a refugee camp in Gaza Strip. My father, late father, Muhammad, was born in our village, Barga, which he expelled from it, ethnically cleansed from it. This is the essence of the issue. We, the Palestinians, faced injustice situation since 106 years ago. It became more worse since 75 years when and Nakba means the catastrophe that we faced it when they expelled us from our historical homeland. At that time, the Jewish gang succeeded to declare the born of state of Israel in 87% of our historical land. Then the remaining 22%, they occupied it in 1967. 67, I'm in June 1967. This is the issue that we cannot take and isolate and start analyzing October 7th as if it is the only way or the only day in the house. There is a deep.
I understand you, Ambassador. I understand you, Ambassador. The reason why I wanted to get your reaction to the October 7 attack is because we've seen just the devastating levels of carnage. We've seen the humanitarian crisis that's happening there. We had the Israeli ambassador on here who tried to justify the military action in there, but this is important because we've never seen anything like this before, and so in many ways this is something that must be talked about, and that's why I wanted to get your thoughts on how they have responded, the use of force and everything since the 7th of October.
Okay, I will back just because, again, it's my moral and legal responsibility. You did not see anything like this before, but you did not see 152 Palestinians was killed only since the beginning of this year till October 6th, because our life is not matter. Is this the point? Is this acceptable for anyone? No one see or no one remember that tens of massacres conducted against the Palestinian people 75 years ago. No one would like to remember that we are under the occupation since 56 years ago. No one need to see all of these pictures because, again, we are, or our life, according to the whole entire, or the Western country in general, whom is supporting the Israeli occupation, does not matter. Only everyone want us to start. But again, I will back to October 7th. But again, this October 7th, we cannot analyze it and isolate it from its historical context. There is a very long and very deep history behind that. And again, October 7th, if it does not happen in October 7th, it will happen in the future, because by the end of the day, the Palestinian is suffering. The Palestinian, especially in Gaza, since 2007, they are under complete military Israeli siege. Anyone know about that? No one, because their life no matter. Anyone know that according to the international community, the United Nations itself, Gaza in 2000 and in 2020 was not a livable place. This is something no one know it, and no one will know it, because
I
by the end of the day, whom is making the
I
news
no,
all around the
I
world
don't.
did not care about our life.
No, Ambassador, no, I don't think that this is about. I don't think that this is about the Palestinian life not being as important as anyone else's. I mean, I'm sure you can understand by, just by the virtue of being here that we care about human lives, we care about the Palestinian lives, we care about
I'm
Palestinian
pretty sure.
freedom,
Yes.
and we want and we but we want people we want people to understand, what the reality is for everyone in that place, right? Because it has as much impact on the rest of us as it does on, we're not as those who are experiencing it, but our humanity is also tugged at the heart of this. But, and so, Ambassador, it would appear, just given what you have explained to us, that the two-state solution that was introduced, decades ago, is clearly not in place. It's clearly not being implemented as it was designed to work all those years ago. Ambassador, why do you think that is the case today?
You mean the two-state solution or the
Yes.
Oslo Accord? If this is the case, again, you cannot, and again, I'd like to take you back 28 years ago. 30 years ago, Yasser Arafat, Ishaq Rabin, the late Yasser Arafat, the late Ishaq Rabin, the Israeli prime minister at that time. Ishaq Rabin is one of the godfather of Israel, establishing of the state of Israel. Sit together and agree to sign finally a peace agreement together, and they sign it. But unfortunately, whom is leading Israel today? Benjamin Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, Smotrich, and all of these stuff, whom is sitting in the cabinet, whom is the fanatic people, was succeeded through Yigal Amir. Their colleagues, Yigal Amir, was assassinated Ishaq Rabin. This is the point. When you want, again, when we want to analyze the issue, we should tackle it from the roots, so that we agree as a Palestinian, Yasser Arafat, the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization, again, to build our state in only, and I would like to stress on it, in only 22% of our historical land. Is it fair or not fair? Very fair. But at the end of that, by the end, unfortunately, they themselves, who is guiding Israel, ruling Israel today, they themselves killed Ishaq Rabin. Then later on, they killed Yasser Arafat, they poisoning him. So that this is the point. Anyone intended to have a peace. Peace means two-state solution. This is the agreeable. This is to some extent a bit fair for the Palestinian people that we accepted it. But two-state solution means West Bank and Gaza, including East Jerusalem, to be the state of Palestine. 22% of our historical land, and again, our historical land from the river to the sea. Now, they did not stop, since we signed the Oslo Accord, they did not stop expanding the settlement. Do you think that anyone intended to have a peace agreement is still expanding the settlement in West Bank? It's not, I'm living there in West Bank, and I'm telling you the reality it's a one state. Unfortunately, day by day, they are entrenching and pushing for a one state reality, apartheid state. We are living in apartheid state. This is the time for all of you here in Nigeria and Africa to start listening to us as a Palestinian. There is another part of the story. Leave all the propaganda that distributed by the Western media, the majority of Western media, which is completely biased towards the Israeli occupation. This exact media, before establishing State of Israel, used to distribute, to guide the discourse in the Western country by saying that big slogan, saying that empty land without people for people without land. Could you imagine? We are the majority. They, the Jewish themselves at that time, only 30% of the Palestinian population. Majority of them was immigrated after the Second World War, and by the slogans, the media, the Western biased media, used to say land without people for people without land. Back to my point, It's time to listen to us. It's time to open your ear, to open your screen, to listen to us. We are the other part of that. We are the other chapter. Gave us the opportunity to tell our story. Then I'm pretty sure you are decent enough to know what is the who's stand in the right side of the history. This is the reality. This is the issue. The peace process is there. We are agree again to build our state in only 22% of our historical land. Unfortunately, the current messianic, fanatic, maniac Israeli leaders cannot accept talking about two-state solution. Only 2 months ago, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, was displayed a map for the historical land of Palestine, saying this is Israel before 1948. Could you imagine? He did not acknowledge that this is also Palestine, while his father was traveling using our passport, our Palestinian passport, using our airport, a Lid airport, which became now Ben Gurion Airport. After 1973, they converted the name to Ben Gurion Airport. But he completely neglected our existence even before the General Assembly. So that this is the issue. There is another part of the story. Cannot imagine that we are existing. Part of the Smotrich himself denied the existence of Palestinian people. Could you imagine? They are fighting against us since the Nakba, 75 years, and day and night declaring that we are not existing. So if we are not existing, are you fighting against ghosts? I'm here. I'm Palestinian. I'm not ghost.
So, Ambassador, what I want to then understand is what you see the future of Israeli-Palestine relations in your area, because the conflict and many are saying that it's taken, it's beginning to shape the world order. We're starting to see the world react differently to a situation that has existed for decades, right? And many people expect that it would change the geopolitics, not just of the Middle East, but of the world forever. How do you see these changes playing out, and what do you think it will it would become, or what do you think the Israeli-Palestinian relationship will become in this future?
Let me just differentiate between more than one aspect, because it's very important. We have nothing against the Israeli at all. One word, loud and clear. We have nothing against the Israeli. We have nothing against the Jewish, because part of us is the original Jew. Part of the Palestinian today, Christian and Muslim, is the original Jew. So that Judaism, the Israeli people, we have nothing. Our struggle is only against the Israeli occupation. It's very important, because mixing all of these terminology is making is helping the Israeli occupation itself. So that when it came to the Jewish, part of our leaders is a Jewish people. My first ever leader or boss in the Ministry of Planning and International Cooperation in 1998 was a Jewish. His name is Ilan Halebi. So that when it came, and he's the political advisor for the minister at that. So that when it came to the Jewish, they are part of us, and we have nothing against the Jewish. We have nothing against the Judaism itself. We have nothing against the Israeli people, but against the occupation, yes, of course. One word, loud and clear: we will not stop resisting this occupation. This is fair. Second, shaping the world, yes. Shaping the discourse in the world, yes. Not only the world. Today, the majority of the Jewish young people in the United States itself is aligning themselves with our struggle. You know why? Because the dominant media outlet, was broken now, because everyone have his smartphone, so that everyone became a journalist. Everyone can easy have access to the WhatsApp, to the different social media platforms. So that we started, the Palestinian and the world start taking another look to the Palestinians through these smartphones. This is the point. But otherwise, we did not have, 20 years ago, we did not have the opportunity to tell our stories. So that, yes, it is shaping the world. Yes, it is shaping the world. You need to take a look. The mandatory power, United Kingdom, more than 1 million citizen there to uprise or to go in a demonstration for the Palestinian people. This is amazing issue. This is because the people became no more, because the people themselves, because take more or wide look about what is happening there in Palestine. Yes, it is shaping the international discussion. Just a lot of examples, more than 400 of the United Nations staff 2 or 3 days ago signed a letter. More 1,000 of the United States administration, White House administration signed a letter criticizing the way out, the way out of treating the Palestinian, the war in the Palestinian people. It's really we are witnessing a real change. In many places in Europe, in many places all around the world. So that, yes, I agree with you, it's shaping the world and will reshaping the world even after this war, especially when the Human Rights Council and all the decent international, intergovernmental bodies will send their inquiries, missions, and they will discover what is the atrocity, what is the genocide, the textbook genocide that conducted by the unmoral Israeli occupation force in Gaza. Yes, it will entrench the reshaping of the discourse and the reshaping of the... But it changed the world politically. Yes, it will change it, because today many people all around the world is threatening their classical political. We will not go to vote.
So Ambassador, what would it take? What would it take for us to see? What would it take for us to see? To see that the region puts of this fighting, all of the violence, the occupation. What sort of solutions are we looking at here, in your opinion? What would it take for peace in between Israelis and the Palestinian, in your opinion? Because we're running out of time.
The $1 million question: the international law to see the peace. You need to apply the international law over all the country in equal fair. Is it fair or not fair? Very fair. To apply to see or to make sure that there will be a peace in the Middle East between the Palestinian and the Israeli. The international community must stop treating Israel as a country above the international law. The Western countries should stop their providing unequivocal, unshakable, unequivocal, unshakable support, blind support for the Israeli occupation. They should stop giving them the branch card for doing anything all over the world. Then they cover them and protect them. Politically speaking, they are protecting them. This is the issue. If we agree that we want to see to apply the two-state solution, which is the very fair solution, at least to some extent for us as a Palestinian, we need the international community to change. It is how did they treated Israel? Because again, as long as the international community is treating Israel as the spoily, grumpy teenager, we will not reach a peace at all, because those who is guiding Israel today is fanatic, messianic. They are not only dangerous for the Palestinian people, they are also dangerous and making a lot of danger against their people themselves. And before the last escalation, approximately 40 weeks of demonstration from the Israeli people against this fanatic messianic government. So that, again, peace is there. This is very easy to apply it if and only if the international community decided to treat Israel as a country. The international law can apply as a state, not country. Not a country. State.
Ambassador, I think I think that response was very straightforward, and I want to say thank you very much for taking the time to discuss
Pleasure.
this with us. I didn't even get to go halfway through my notes. I had a lot more questions to ask, but unfortunately we're hard pressed for time. So hopefully we can invite you here again and have more conversations with you.
Just less than half a minute. Yes, I agree with you, Shika, that there is many things that you prepared. Then I already started destroying your question because again, um, our part of this story was completely hidden. So that not only you, I used to meet with tens of if not hundred, but tens of the distinguished media outlet, and all of them used to be fed the same exact information from the Western media outlet, which is completely biased. Now it's time. It's very fair for all of you to reach out to me, to start listening. There is another issue. I know I shake your old beliefs, not only you, many of the old beliefs, especially when I say that part of us is the original. We have nothing against the Israel. We have nothing against the Jewish themselves. My first ever boss was a Jewish. So all of these information is completely hide and will continue to be completely hide because it does not serve the project of the occupation. I'm
Right.
here, Shika, in your hands, in all the media outlet hands, to tell at least our part of the story. Thank you so much for hosting.
Thank you very much. That was Ambassador Abdullah Abu Shawesh, is the extraordinary and plenipotentiary embassy of the States of Palestine. Thank you very much for joining us this evening on the big story here on Radio Now 95.3 FM. Let's get your thoughts on the conversation. You've heard from the Israeli, because we had the Israeli ambassador to Nigeria on air with us on Tuesday. And now we've just spoken to spoken to the extraordinary and plenipotentiary ambassador at the embassy of the state of Palestine here in Nigeria to get his thoughts on the issue, help us break down the conflict in the region, right, and talk to us from the Palestinian side of things. I want to hear from you next at the round table. 0913 5953 and 0901 1111953. Your calls, your messages up next at the roundtable. Stay with us. Good evening.
Lagos and beyond. Radio Now 95.3 FM.
Police officer now.